In this video, I want to review the resources folder at the top of the view map. Now, when you open your template, you're going to get this starting view, and this is where it shows everything that's included on the first level. There's your Tahoe and Newport Beach scale guides. There's the sample floor plan layout, a couple of just reminder notes on what to do with where to set your grid on the drawing origin, and maybe to mark that on your title block. It has all the legends that we covered in a previous video. But also in this folder, and if you ever want to get back to it again, that's why it's here. Just double click to the starting view. I have a worksheet, graphic worksheet of the pens, and it goes from the working pens and then what changes when you switch to print. So working is meant for as you're working, it provides a little bit more color to some items. Also, if you want to do like a 3D document, and you can get some color on things like insulation, stone section, brick section, that'll show up. So you can use that to create your 3D document. And then when you go to print, a lot of those colors will just go to black and white. And I'll show you an example of that on a detail. So, but also part of this grid is I've laid out all the pens according to a master format layer. There's a couple exceptions. This first line are black drafting pens. Second are grayscale drafting pens. This middle section here, these are the pens that are reserved for Plan North. So those numbers are what David uses, so those won't change. And then down here I have the Sage Modern branding pens, and a couple of accent colors, darker and lighter shades of sage, which I use these to color different zones for zoning plans. So and then there's some space available if you want to create your own colors to put it down here in this category. Also, you'll see the pen number above, its color in the square, and it's what it's supposed to be used for right below. And if there's a variation from the pen weight on the horizontal lines, I try to keep them consistent, where the top line here in this group of pens is 0.1, second line is 0.2, and so on. And if there's an exception that I made in order to make something pop, I've noted it in parentheses. The reason why I did this as opposed to just having a group of pens was I feel like it gives us a little bit more control over individual objects. Let's say you're drawing a detail and you want the wood studs to kind of be a little bit lighter than what they're showing, or you want your cladding to pop a little bit more. Well, now you can just go in and you can just adjust this pen width. And in the pen dialog box, working in print, I've labeled all of the pens to match, so you should be able to see what it is. And basically the first row in a section, the top here, is your contour line or your uncut line. The second row is the cut line, so like if it's cutting in section, this is the line it will use. This third row, the foreground hatch, that's like if you have a hatch symbol, that's the color it's going to be, like wood grains or the triangles and dots for concrete. That's that color. And then the background fill, that's the background of said material that'll have the foreground hatch on top of it. I do just want to point out a couple things. Concrete did not fit within 6 pens. So you can kind of follow the box, you'll see kind of the concrete. So there's concrete contour, cut line, the main hatch, background for an architectural concrete, and a background fill for a structural concrete. So the structural is a little darker. And then I did the same for precast. So precast concrete will look a little different, like if you're using precast panels on the interior. Also the water barriers, the fill will be orange, for a membrane or a sheet, and blue for a rain screen. I've added some color for green board or glass, and then also the main one here under the insulation below bat, and the different foams have different colors, along with brick fill and stone fill. And like again, if you switch those to print, those go to white and grayscale. So the color is really just for working. But yeah, that's kind of the organization. I feel like it gives us a little bit more control. Oh, the other thing over here on the back end, these colors, these will always stay as colors, whether it's print, so you can have something highlighted or not. And yeah, so there's basically, that's located. So that's kind of an overview of the pens. Then, and again, there's a view of the working, view of the print. Next is an interactive layer matrix. Now, purpose of this is when you have your layer set picked, like let's just go to floor plans for example, you'll have the squares indicate what layers are turned on, what color that layer is going to be, and then the shaded area will indicate like where you'll find or where you want to put your notations. So like the floor plan, elevations, interior elevations, and sections, they all put the same notation on the same layers, so that's why these bubbles highlight together. But let's say if I want to go to a dimensional plan, then I'll just have notes on the dimensions. If I want to create a ceiling plan, yeah, I'll put my notes on the A-note ceiling layer and the like. If I'm working on a lighting plan, this is where I'll want to dimension and put notes, labels, and the like. So that's kind of how this is set up. So you can just kind of walk through and you can kind of see what layers are turned on for each layer set and which ones are turned off. I want to go over quickly why I have two detail drawing or layer sets. Detail 1, that's meant for like if you're going into a wall section and you want to model the objects. So this would be more of a live detail. Well, you'll put in some beams, complex profiles that you might have made for like a roof eave or something like that. That would go on in this detail 1, so the model detail layer. But then let's say you want to do a blow up detail of that and you want to add some more some more detail to it, like flashing or things of that nature that you really don't need to model and you don't want to model. Then you would, anything that kind of gets drafted over a detail at a closer scale, that lives on the detail 2. So you can kind of turn those on and off. So that's kind of why I set up these two different detail layer sets. The structural, I know Plan North, they're going to use their own layers, but I kept this in here mainly in case there's a project that we're not using Plan North and we're not doing teamwork and you want to pull in some beams or things of that nature so you can have them in your sections for your modeling. Well, there's some layers set up for that. Also, I figure you can also use these for framing drawings if you want to do framing drawings and not have a separate framing layer. Just put those on the structural. So that's why that is in there. So you'll have a structural details, framing plan, and then a slab plan for like hold downs and stuff like that. So that's why those are in there. So that's the purpose of that. And then also the next worksheet down, similar to the layers, I've got a materials matrix. And this is mainly in there. It kind of goes through, and I've organized them by master format category. It'll give you the surface texture that's assigned to that material and also what the cover fill is. So depending on how you want to fill it with your texture or with your color fill, this will just give you a view of what it is. It'll also tell you like what how I name the surface, and there's a guide above here. Try and do like the specification number, the keynote number, or the material ID. It's not really a keynote. or how you want to do it. And then a short description, and then if you want to put manufacturer ID, you can put that in here. I'll go over the underscores later in labeling and why those are important. I'm trying to use a bunch of auto text in some of the preset labels, so the underscore kind of highlights which section of this description that the label is going to pull from. So you can kind of look through here. So this is everything that is preloaded in the template. Different sidings, tiles, brick. Some of this is like the out-of-the-box stuff that came with ArchiCAD, so I didn't change a ton of it. I did limit some of the bricks, but I kept them in there. I use brick veneer in some Newport projects, and I've done it before in some other Tahoe projects, so that's why I left the brick and the CMUs there. So that's the materials matrix that's located in the resources, and then also there's this folder for the detailing process, and I'll kind of briefly go through that, but I'll go more through the process further. So this is where you'll see, like, if you go to the starting view, these sections through the various composites, that's where I have views for these set. And also I'll just go over this really quick in case this is a tip. So I don't know why that's not, it should go to the middle. So if you go to view settings, you want to make sure that if you're going to either do a fit in window or a current zoom, you want to make sure this ignore zoom and rotation box is unclicked. If you do that, now it'll come in correctly, and it won't. If that's not clicked, it'll just kind of, whatever the last view you're on, it'll apply that zoom to it. So it might not be the zoom that you want. But you've got the slab composite. There's only one. Different floor constructions. So different floor composites that you can choose from that you'll see here, and they're organized by the same kind of two-letter nomenclature. Floor finishes, ceiling finishes, roof constructions, roof finishes, and exterior soffits. And then these are the kind of sections I'll go over different and how to like make a wall type section or a floor type section. And then also this is kind of just kind of a graphic training for how to use the detailing rigs and all these composites and labels in a sample wall section. And these two sections live here. That's this wall section assembly rig and the detail assembly rig. That's what these guys are for. So that's what lives in the resources folder. It's kind of a good place for a starting point. And I think that's where I'll wrap it up on this video so it doesn't get too lengthy, but I just wanted to point out the features that I saved up at the top in a folder called resources.